How's it going, everyone? All right. Corbin, you're going to have to take off the headband eventually. I know, friends. I know. Welcome back. I hope you're all having a great morning or afternoon or evening, whatever time it is there. We just released a video on mantra and prayer and spells and things like that. So now we can go a little bit deeper and we can cover more Nightside or underworld type mantra and evocation and invocation and things like that, which is per viewer request. So thank you for your questions. Please keep them coming. This one is from Krakon or Krakon. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Sorry, buddy. So we are going to get into that. Now, one of the reasons that I haven't covered this is because I cover things down the middle. I give you information, and then you can give it wings or you can give it horns. That is sort of what I have found to be most effective. If I teach things in a strictly left-hand path, people tend to forget that it can be converted to a more intermediary or even a more beneficent or holistic end. And if I give things from a holistic, Empyrean, celestial end, people, for whatever reason, don't think about using it infernally. 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. Again, I'm a practitioner. I use what works for me. I have done the exact same spell with demons as I have with angels. The results did vary, but potential varies between clients and between guests. So yes, we can chalk some of that up to the source of where the working was coming from. But if I do a wealth working for one person and for another, or prosperity working, one person has a lot of motivation and assets, they're going to generate more. That's just how it goes. Not always, but that is, typically how it works. So I will give more left hand ideas in this video so that you can see, and then maybe toward the end I'll show how we can convert this. And again, I didn't put a lot of time and prep into this, and that's not because I don't care about it. It's just because I've got a lot of content to produce, and if I get bogged down too much on scripts and formats, you might not get the videos. So here we go. When it comes to mantra, midnight mantras, you might say, and whether your thing is mantras or mishnas, I don't want to say it's all the same, but you get the point. Like it is a vibration of a concept. So when it comes to opening the gates of the Nightside, we do this on multiple levels, which I've covered before. So many people teach how to open the gates and wind. And so many people teach how to open the gates and water. And most people teach how to open the gates physically. And that sounds ludicrous. Like, how do you open a gate to hell physically? Well, you do it with physical things, with resources. And it doesn't open a physical portal to hell. It just allows things to manifest at a physical level, as opposed to an emotional or a psychological level. Okay? We're not actually opening a gate to the mantle of the earth physically. So, I digress. When it comes to the midnight mantras, so to speak, or opening the gates of the tunnels and the Qliphoth, it helps to know where the door is to use the key. Just saying. And it helps to have a key if you want to be able to close the door and not just bust it down and be able to, just let everything in and out as it pleases. Part of the reason that I teach Qliphothic philosophy is because it is a more would you say demarcated or marcated? Either way, it is a graduated process, so that you don't just say, okay, shadow, here I come, or okay, random primal chaos of, primordial consciousness, bring it on. That was sort of a request, wasn't it? So I guess I'll teach something here too. You can absolutely neurolinguistically program yourself by saying things like that. So we do a sort of shatter spell or something with our visualization where we either reverse ourselves speaking it, we see the words coming out backwards, we shatter the image in our mind's eye, we do things like that. Although at this point in my life, if the primordial chaos were to bring it on, I would only say thank you. So, but many of you might not. Now, when you have the key, which is something like the mantra, it can be done many ways. Some people will do it in a goetic way, which is a sort of howling, growling, think black metal, death metal. I'm not going to scream into the microphone here, but think metal vocals. This is some ways that people will intone the infernal invocations, so to speak. I love alliteration so much. It's almost a trap sometimes. Anyway, you can use the growling metal vocal style type of thing. You can do whispers. Whispers work very well also. Whispering the mantra or saying it in an inhale. I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera, but I'll say like Twilight tongue. Twilight tongue. Breathing in like that. It was the first word I saw when I looked up. That's why I chose that. Breathing in as you say it, especially works well for invocation. Then there is just the sort of repetitive drone speaking that you can do like that. And then there is like the low intonation, like twilight tongue. You get the idea. You can do this any number of ways. Now, here's what most of you want to know. Where do I get the correct invocation though? But like where's that chronic? Where's that fire invocation at? That's gonna depend on you. I could say this is the most powerful invocation, and it's in Latin or Italian or whatever. You might not like the way that Italian, for some reason, you might not like the way Italian flows off the tongue. So that whole invocation may be bunk and a dud to you. I might give you something that is from a certain person, and that person said something you didn't like once. Do you see where I'm coming from? In all of my walkthroughs, I have done workings intuitionally. I have done workings instructionally. I have done workings passively. Let me break those down. So intuitionally, I mean like, okay, I fall into trance sort of shamanically, and I walk through this process, and I have, you might say, guides walk me through this process. That's one level of initiation. Then I had someone say, hey, no, this is how you do it. No, do it this way. Okay, did it that way. And then I had the process of conglomerating many sources together and taking what I liked from them and sort of tailoring it to my own. And for me, that's what worked the best. It settled the intellect by saying, well, what if there's something better out there? Grab half a dozen fucking sources and throw them in the blender, or actually analyze them, use the formula, take it apart, calcinate, dissolve, separate, conjunct, etc. Right? And then bring yourself in. Allow those things to inspire you, but then use your inspiration. That is all any of this is. palette. It's a template. Don't ever let someone tell you this is the way. Don't ever let someone tell you they are the one. It's been said many times, and it was incorrect every time. Take what you like. Take what works for you. That's what I share on this channel. I take the things that are most similar that I found externally that worked best for me, or when I found it resonated with, oh yeah, I've done something very similar to that. There's no perfect mantra for midnight. There's no perfect tongue for twilight, okay? Please get that as deeply into you as you can. Now, will you one day find something that works better than anything else? I hope so. Is it the correct right one? No, it's not. It was right for you. And now you can maybe all the people you show that to, it works best for them as well. That is possibly because you're all in the same sphere and frequency. It could also possibly be because of how convinced you were. Okay, be fucking careful, because you're twisting, and I understand, I'm doing it too, but we're twisting tethers here that are not always tangible. And by that, I mean we don't always know what we're doing, okay? So when you're telling people this is the truth, this is the way, you're breaking branches off the tree, or you're binding the branches from blossoming. So now, that being said, there is a sort of mantra that I have used that has worked. And this mantra does come from a somewhat well-known practitioner. Many of you have probably heard of V.K. Johannem. Don't talk about him a lot because he's one practitioner of many. However, the simple formula of Qliphoth or Qliphoth, Hashar Shakor, or open the dark or open the black gate, spoken in a language that is relevant to the Qliphoth Hebrew, can be very effective. And saying Bashem Ha, whoever it is, open the gate in the name of this person, this is how it's always been done. So while I will say thank you to people that have brought things to further light, calling it theirs and saying that it's the right one is super sketch. I'm not even sure where that is, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, I don't really want to suggest too many people. Like, we've suggested Jan Fries, and we've suggested Kenneth Grant and Thomas Carlson and Asenath Mason and Linda Florio. Now we've mentioned V.K. Johannem, only because so many people have asked me why I don't cover him. Well, he's his own person. He's got his own style. If I'm sitting here talking about this person and that person and them and those, it can open the paths and the channels, but at the same time, it also reads as like I'm a follower of theirs, or like they asked me to mention them or something. And these people have enough on their plate. These people they've got their own motivations and inspirations. They don't need validation from me, and they probably don't even want the weight that I carry, because I understand I do carry a lot of weight. So just to name drop someone, because a lot of people seem to think that those are the best types of workings. So the name of the typical grimoire that they mention escapes me. It's not called the Grimoire of the Citra Akra, but it's something very similar. I did flip through it. I did read it. I did incorporate some of it into some of the path workings that I did. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I didn't feel like they were more powerful than anything that had been revealed. but I think it's all sort of coming from the same place. Now, I will say some of his workings are the closest that I could find to my own. And that's another reason I don't mind mentioning them, is because their workings, when I read them, felt very familiar. And I like that very much. So looking to others for ideas to break out of the box, I definitely recommend. But I don't suggest just taking everything with a grain of salt. Also, there are different pronunciations for things, which is another important thing to cover. Pronunciations are important, but they're not the prize of the party. They do create specific frequencies, but it's not so important that everything is said perfectly. I've seen so many rituals, I've seen so many ceremonies get bogged down by correct pronunciation when the frequency and the energy was just fine. Everybody was flowing in unison. The astral was a light. And someone gets bogged down on the pronunciation, and all of a sudden everything plummets back down to earth. So, moving on. One of the ways that you can open the gates is through utterance, through vibration of your vocal cords. You can just vibrate the sphere name. Like Nihimith. Nahimoth. Over and over and over and over and over. Or you can whisper it. You can, like all of the ways that you can just vibrate the sphere name. Okay? You can vibrate some sort of formula. Like open the gate of Nihimith in the name of Nahima or Nahima. And then you can say, I close the gate of Nihimith in the name of Nahima or Nahima. Try to close what you're open, especially if it's for other people. Now, getting into the tunnels is where it gets a little more complicated, because many tend to look at the tunnels as a subjective thing. How do I tell you how to get in your own head? How do I tell you how to get in your own back door? I can pick the lock, I can break it down, I can say, hey, this is how I do it. But ultimately, they're your tunnels. And it's the same for your demons as well. And I understand that this comes off as a half measure and as lazy, that I'm not giving you things. But it's important that you try to come up with stuff on your own. The mage transforms their environment. Having someone else transform your environment is magical, but it doesn't make you a mage. Maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not trying to cast shade or anything. I'm just saying take control of your own shit. Do something more than just scroll, copy, paste. Now, another way into the tunnels, if you're really, really, really struggling and you're not connecting with the names of the jinn that have been given before, like Amproteus and Barachiel and Gargophius and all of them, and they may work for you, but they might not. Something you can do is one way to think about the tunnels and the jinn in the tunnels. One way, not the correct way, but one way to think about the jinn of the tunnels. Is the children of the spheres. So you could take, if you use Satan for Keter, or Thaumael rather, and you use Beelzebul or Beelzebub for Gogiel, then you could use the name Satazabul. And that egregore, that thought form, that entity, Satazabul, can guide you into the tunnel of Amproteus, or introduce you to Amproteus, etc., etc., etc. This brings another point across. An egregore that I have worked with that has helped me explore the Qliphoth is an egregore that I call Kenemiel, and that is largely due to the gematria of that number. And the spelling would be Kof Nun Mem Yod Aleph Lamed, I believe. I'd have to double check on that. But the spirit, or the entity, the egregore, Kanemiel, if you want to work with them, if you want to pull them through your own filter to get all of my psychic slime out of them, they hopefully for you would be more than willing to do that. And I charge them with the capacity to do so. So you can mix names like Belsifuge, like Belphegor and Lucifuge. Belsifuge. You can mix names Asmodelek, Asmodeus and Adramelech. These can help you if you're not slippery and slimy enough to get in. These beings or these thought forms, these egregores, can help attune you to something that they perceive on subtle levels you can't perceive. You can attune yourself to something that can attune you to something else. And this is something that I don't hear talked about a lot. It's something that I have used quite extensively, especially when I'm entering a new paradigm or unfamiliar territory. I will create an egregore as a sort of emissary, so to speak. So you can vibrate mantras to get into attunement with the entities. You can vibrate demonic ends, which comes from, oh my goodness, why does that name escape me? I'll have to put it in the description below because for some reason all I can think of right now is someone else's name. The demonic ends are forms of mantra that some people are so salty about because they're made up or something, or like they're channeled from one person and they weren't actually pulled from the pit of hell. Can you believe it? They work, folks. They work. I've used them more than once, we'll say. I've used them for years and they work just fine, even though they came from someone else, even though that person might have made them up as a joke. They still work. Let's not forget that jokes are very magical, okay? Again, you can vibrate the name of the path, the tunnel, the sphere. The tunnels and the spheres are paths. You can vibrate the names of the paths. You can create a mantra. You can create a yantra. You can create an image. You can create a sigil. But you're going to want to connect, as I say on this channel over and over and over, at every level. You're going to want to connect at every level. But before you do that, most of the time, you're going to want to connect with yourself at every level. Mind blown? Right. You're actually going to want to bring in your own light to cast a shadow. Holy shit. Whoa. Right. The stronger your light, the stronger your shadow. Okay? I've said that before. I'll say it again. The stronger your light, the stronger your shadow. Okay. Now, whether you want to vibrate them slowly or whisper them or whatever, that's whatever. But that is only the wind of it. That is only the air, the mental frequency of it. Now we need to bring in the energy. We have to be able to work with our own etheric force. And we might feel it in multiple places, but if we're going to connect with the beings of the Nightside, do you want them to empower you? Do you want them to stir your cauldron? They can do that. And they can do it at every level. So let's do it energetically as well. Learn to control your own etheric force. Learn to manipulate and transmute, transmogrify, transport, transfer this energy, okay? Then you need to have a strong astral or imaginary, I said it, connection with them. Imaginary doesn't mean fake. Imaginary means imaginary. They're two different words. Make a connection with them visually. Whether this is just with their sigil, which yes, does relate to wind somewhat, but if it's all you can do, it's all you can do. It'll work. That sigil can come alive and turn into something else. Something can come through the sigil. You can go through the sigil. Or if you prefer, you can go through the sigil. That is a connection in wind. A connection in earth would be bringing them here so to speak, in the form of an effigy or a statue or incense or an image of some sort. Making gestures. If a gesture for you, for Thalmael, would be like a trident or something like that, this is a perfect gesture. Yeah, you see Christians doing it all the time when they're praising and they're bringing in a dual force. Now, intention is 9/10 of the issue. You're right. I know. But at the same time, the gestures that we make, they have meaning, right? So this is something I used to do as a kid. I would always wave bye to people, but I don't know if it was because I was stoned or lazy or if it was subliminal, but I would always wave like that. And that is a symbol. That is a gesture, okay? This is another way that we can decorate our surroundings with a certain color of the sphere, and we can mute it with browns or blacks, okay? All of these things are ways that we connect with the dozen denizens of the Qliphoth. I'm sure there's a D word somewhere down there. Anyway, using mantra, using images, using prana or chi or mana is another way. And then using gestures, this is any way that you can think to connect with them is how you will connect with them. If blow drying your face with a blow dryer puts you in a state of trance deep enough to get you into the Qliphoth, do your thing, fam. Like, I'm not here to tell you how to do things. I'm just here to make suggestions so that you can figure out how to do it yourself. The biggest hindrance that I've seen is people thinking that they're going to do it wrong, or people thinking that they're going to get into it too fast. If you're genuinely seeking enlightenment, but you're afraid or you are concerned about hurting yourself or even others, you can do this process very slowly. You can, like, maybe write the archdemon's name one time and then wait a fucking month and see what happened to your life in that month, or a week or a day or an hour or whatever. Or you can just whisper their name once, or you can make their sigil and put it like somewhere that you're gonna see it every day. Or you can take it a step further and like you can maybe put their sigil in your wallet, in your pocket. You can take steps, but the idea is that you're gonna want to get in there as deeply as you can at some level without causing dissonance to yourself to such a degree that you are either stuck there or you're so deep in it that you've created a complex issue. So take these things slowly. I know everybody wants to be a Qliphoth initiate, whatever the fuck that means. Everybody wants to be feared and powerful and enlightened, right? But this is cyclical. Like you don't, in my opinion, just initiate through the Qliphoth and then bam, like you're that guy. This is a continual process, okay? But I do believe that if you go through at every level, it speeds the process up and potentially maybe even keeps you in an extended state of suspension between the Sephiroth and the Qliphoth, allowing you to do the work that you need to do when and where you need to do it. I think that covers just about everything. I could give examples and stuff, but I've got pathworking videos already on the channel. They're not very high quality and they're not very explanatory, but if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you can extract an entire ceremony or ritual from that. So anyway, that's it. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, please leave them below. Have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. Thanks for stopping by and take care. Thanks.